Welcome to the Peeew.
Dispute.
Somebody's spewing.
Dispute.
Somebody is spewing.
We are going to talk about what?
We're talking about Michael's latest trespassing adventure.
No, we're talking about the Donald Trump documentary, or are we talking about both at once?
Let's talk about the trespassing part, and then we'll talk about the documentary.
Well, they're both the same thing. So we went. To
When did you go? When did you go to that?
Saturday.
All right, this past Saturday.
Yes.
Okay, what's the name of the documentary?
It has kind of a funny name. Oh, Fahrenheit 11/9.
Oh, okay, 9/11 or
No, it's
11/9. Okay, because that's the election day.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a movie by Michael Moore. You said.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, what theater were you at?
At the EMC Empire.
And where's that?
It's on 42nd Street.
On Times Square.
Yeah, and it was interesting to me because I remember that theater when it was just the Empire and when it was one screen, and that theater was a humongous theater. The screen was something like 7 stories tall, and because the building is a very big building, the screen went from the bottom to the top. People don't realize how tall that was.
Right, back in the old days, before Times Square was turned into Disneyland, there were theaters there that were built in the old style, and they were massive theaters
Right.
that had huge screens, huge, seating areas. Everything in them was huge. They really were movie palaces.
Yeah.
Not like these multiplexes.
And this was
today.
one of the biggest ones. It was so big that they were able to turn it into 25 theaters.
Okay.
Which, to me, I as you know, I don't know a lot of people.
It's a golden age of theaters.
Right.
Now you've got 25 instead of 1.
I went to school originally to be an architect. That's my original love, is buildings and architecture and things like that. So design. So to see the way they were able to put 25 theaters, so the ingenuity they used to put these theaters in there, the way the escalators go all the way up, in this, it's sort of like the Palladium, how they put this beautiful Japanese designed modern
nightclub.
Yeah,
inside an old
this
theater.
old palace, in the juxtaposition of the beautiful simplicity of this Japanese design against the more kind of Baroque, intricate style of the past was kind of cool, and that's what this was. And it was very similar, and I was kind of marveling at that as we walked in. And so we bought our tickets and we bought our popcorn and concessions, everything ridiculously priced. And we went in and we were watching the movie, and we paid, it was like almost $9 for a soda and $12 for a popcorn. And in the middle of the movie, we ran out. We ran out of soda, but we had popcorn left, and there's nothing worse, than having popcorn left and no soda.
Some might say it's a crime.
Yeah. So I went downstairs to get more soda, and unbelievably, the concession stand was closed in the middle of the movies. There were still movies going on. It was they were the last showing of all the.
All right. What time of the evening?
It was just after midnight.
Okay.
And it actually was Sunday, not Saturday. But there were 25 movies. Most of them still going on. Maybe the tail end, but they were still going on. And movies make the bulk of their money at the concession stand. Sometimes all of their money, because they have to give the first few weeks to the company, to the film company, the rescues. So I went down there thinking I'm going to support my local movie theater and buy some overpriced soda.
Another $8 soda, please.
Right. And they said it was closed, and yet they were all standing there right behind the concession stand, and they said. They said they couldn't sell me any drinks, and I said, well, all you have to do is put the cup underneath the thing, and just press it. And they're like, well, the cups are all locked up. If you had a cup, we would do it for you. So I said, so you're saying that if I had a cup, you would put it underneath and you would fill it up for me? And she said, yes. So I knew that we had 3 cups up at the chairs, but it was so far away. You have to go up escalators, down hallways, and elevators, and whatever. And I knew that by the time I got there and back, they would have locked everything up and been gone. Just out of spite, So, because they didn't want my money. So, I pretended like I was going back up to the chairs, to the seats, and instead I stopped at a garbage can. Now, this is for effect, basically. I was just trying to prove a point. So I stopped at a garbage can, and I ruffled through, and I picked out the one that had the least amount of goop on it. And I walked over to the water fountain and cleaned it off, and then I came over and I presented it to the lady behind the thing, and she wouldn't touch it. But she said, if you want, go ahead. And so she let me put my cup underneath her and I filled it up. So, to the gasps of like the employees, and she said, now I've seen everything. And I said, honey, you work in Times Square. You should have been here when I was here 25 years ago. Then you would have seen it. This is tame compared to that. So everybody, it was funny and they laughed and everything. I did my little show. And so we went upstairs. So like 20 minutes later, Kyoki wanted something else. So he was too lazy to go. So he sent me down. So I went down, and this time there was literally nobody there. It was probably like 12:30. There was nobody there at all. All the lights were on. It was very reminiscent of my Dallas airport situation. So it looked
Which led to an arrest.
It looked like it was open. And I remember the last time they said it was closed, and yet I did get my soda. So I thought
you didn't pay for it though.
I didn't pay for it. So but she had given it to me. So
so you got one free soda.
Right. So
and then you wanted another.
So my friend Mike, who was with us, went in the bathroom. Was going to the bathroom. So he went in the bathroom while I kind of walked around.
This movie couldn't have been that good that you were watching if you got up so many times to get soda and go to the bathroom.
It was upsetting. The movie was upsetting. That so much goes on that nobody does anything about. Probably because everybody's like they're saying somebody ought to do something about that. So anyway, so I'm walking around looking for a manager or something, and I'm thinking to myself, it's kind of like Dawn of the Dead, with all the things sort of looking like they're open, but and all of a sudden I'm going to be assaulted by the zombies. When all of a sudden I was assaulted by a team of security guards, and they were like, "Hey, you! What do you think you're doing?" Now at the time I was looking out the window and looking up at marveling at the escalators and all the kind of cool architecture.
Maybe they thought you wanted to jump.
Well, there's glass there, and also I was looking at this cool Target ad across the street on the building across the street, like with mechanical boxes and things moving and kind of cool stuff, So I tried to tell them that I was looking at the Target ad, and the security guard said, "There are plenty of places where you can look at the Target ad that aren't so close to the concession stand." And at that point, I realized that they probably thought that I was trying to go behind the concession stand and steal some popcorn.
But why would they think that?
I don't know, just because I couldn't think of anything else, any other reason for them not to want me back.
Well, did you give them reason to suspect that?
I didn't think, but just the fact that I was back there, they couldn't fathom that anybody would think that the Target ad or the architecture was so interesting that they would want to look at it.
Were you already behind the counter?
No, I wasn't behind the counter at all. I was in a portion of the lobby that customers are allowed to stand in. It's just right up at the window. I was like actually looking out the window like that. And I guess they found that suspicious. And then all of a sudden, one of the security guards goes, "You're the guy that was digging through the trash to get that cup." And then the manager came down, and all these people were coming down. And
stop right there. We're gonna take a break.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Welcome back to the Peew.
So, the security guard recognized you from your trash picking episode, and then what happened?
Then the manager came down, the same one that had told me earlier that I couldn't get the drink unless I had my cup, and so and the one who approved my free soda pop. So she said, I'm hearing too many things here that aren't adding up, and I'm like, what? I was going over to look at and even then I realized how guilty I sounded. Like, I was just going over to look at the Target sign, and
Nothing weird about that.
Yeah, and so she said, I'm just not comfortable letting you go back into the auditorium. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, and then my friend Mike came out of the bathroom. She said, are you with him? And he immediately, really said, I'm not sure. And then the security guard, he said, oh yeah, I saw them walking down together. And then they said that they're not comfortable letting him go back either. And with no real reason other than, the fact that...
Other than that you're suspicious.
Right. And...
well, that's a reason.
I mean, I suppose, but suspicious of what? You know, I mean, like
Well, I mean,
terrorism.
we live in the age of see something, say something.
Yeah.
See
Well, I
something
very much had the feeling that they were like thinking terrorism bombs. Like I really did. That's what I was thinking. But
like you don't actually need to have any evidence of.
you just have to be weird. And
You
like,
just have to think, oh, that person's suspicious. Let me
Right.
call the police.
well, and that's what we were like thinking was coming next, and nobody wanted that.
Okay.
So I was just like, well, we have some friends inside who are watching the movie. Can I just go get them? And at first she said, well, if you'll guarantee me that you're going to come right back out. And then as I turned around, I said, yeah, of course. She said, you know what? I'm just not comfortable. I'm just not comfortable letting you do that. And so she made Mike go in there, escorted by a security guard, to go get Kyoki. And then Kyoki comes down saying, I knew it! I knew we weren't going to watch the end of this movie. I had a feeling this was going to happen. I said, you had a feeling we were going to get kicked out of the theater for looking out the window at the Target ad? And he said, that's right. I had a feeling this was going to happen. And Natasha was supposed to come with us too, but at the last minute she pulled out. He said, and Natasha probably had that feeling too. That's why she pulled out. I called Natasha later actually to ask her if she had a suspicion that we were going to get kicked out of the theater. She said no. So anyway, we were escorted out of the theater. And we didn't get to see the end of it. But they haven't seen the end of it.
See you next time.
Bye.